issue. Then there's another issue, and that is timing. Here I am sitting here, and of course it's night vision goggles, and it amplifies light, so you don't want to do it during the daytime. You got to wait until it's night and it's clear, which is really where I get screwed because of all the chemtrails and the regular weather here. But on those clear nights that I do go out, I go out after the sun is set, but not when it's so seriously dark that there's no residual light coming over around the edge of the planet, because that extra light does provide you with extra illumination across the surface of the ships. So, as an example, when I look at one of these big box things at midnight, you can tell it's from the number of pixels, you can tell it's the big box shape, but not much more. But if you were there at, say, half an hour after the sun had set below the horizon, the angle of light is still coming across around you. It's not really interfering with the goggles at all, but it is still striking the surface of these things up 150 miles, 200 miles up. And so you get all kinds of detail level off of this, the surface that's being reflected from. So you can tell the difference between the triangles and the big box things, no worries.
Wow.
It makes sense?
Yeah. Well, what is the time frame in the linguistics for, the bad guys, the banking cartel, Illuminati, whatever we want to call them, for them to their cover starting to be blown, so it starts to enter mainstream consciousness that these are the real guys behind that are running the show and causing all the destruction on the planet.
I suspect by March of 2011, we'll see a good deal of that. There's a huge shift as we come out of that release period, especially here in the United States, and the United States is the center, in spite of the fact of Club of Rome and London and all of that. The actual energetic power is coming from the United States. That's why it's, in this sense, good to be centric here. From March 2011, there will be a major shift politically, and if you want to say, a realistic awakening kind of a view here in the United States. And so from that point on, I think their days are numbered.
Oh.
Thanks for the call.
Great.
We
Thanks
appreciate
a lot for your work.
Okay.
Cliff. Really awesome answers to my questions. Thanks a lot.
Sure. I hope I'm accurate.
It's been our pleasure. It's 10 after the hour. I must have went out for popcorn and missed the part where there's actually, you believe there's people other than earthly people that are running the boys?
Okay, if you go and you listen to David Icke, and you talk...
I've talked to David over the years.
Okay, and he talks about the reptilians coming in, and you also hear people talking about humans that are like walk-ins or whatever. All of that is relatively immaterial, okay? And that's my point, is the immateriality of it. I live in a world that is defined by a Vedic or a Taoistic view as an energetic world, universe. This energetic universe, of course, easily allows for the vision that I see with my eyes to be interpreted inside my head as a human, and it could be any other kind of shape it wanted to be if it can put that thought in my head.
Yeah.
And it's immaterial to me whether it's a reptilian, an amphibian, a bird, a goat, or whatever. And, if it's a goat, then all the Masons are going to have a great time with their goat worship, but it does not matter to me because it is my enemy. And I just need to know what it is relative to its capabilities to cause me problems. I needn't get bogged down in any kind of detail as to whether I'm battling a reptilian or an amphibian. Yeah, the tactics might be a bit different, but the strategy will be the same.
Good morning. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Rick. I'm calling from the Dominican Republic.
Go ahead. You're on the air.
George Urey's written recently that May 5th, 6th is a significant date for Clif. Could you elucidate on that, please?
That's the period in the building tension. We're in a period of building tension now that began, I want to say, early February, in a sort of a knee of a exponential curve, and we're in May 6th is when the problems start piling literally on top of each other vertically with no shifting at all. So that's the vertical part of the building tension that will keep going until July 8th. So from May 6th on, I would expect the news relative to the mainstream to be a whole bunch of problems day after day after day after day that just seem to pile on top of each other.
Okay, thanks.
You're quite welcome. Hey, hello, Cliff. My name is Gavin. I'm in North Carolina. Does the Webbot information change when you release it to the public? Basically, it predicts the future, but it can change after you tell us the times, the dates, and actions and all that. And also, how do you keep the government off of your back for telling us useful information that may hurt their agenda? Do you help them? Do you help them also to keep them from shutting you down with your work? Do you help them?
No. We may inadvertently help them. I know that the the government per se. Let's deal with that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
The government. There are people that buy our reports. We don't accept government checks. Don't accept government purchase orders. But individuals who work for the three-letter agencies buy our reports and read them and circulate them. By the way, they steal them as well, which, no surprise there.
Sure.
And they actually send us little notes occasionally. Some of the people within the various agencies have felt the need to communicate, good, bad, or indifferent information that we've put out there. So whether or not they care to shut us down, my first thing was we do this for entertainment purposes. And it's right at the moment, by the way, my phone just went hollow, so they're seriously listening to us now. They listen to us constantly. We're monitored. All our emails are swept. We know this. I have dozens of cracking attempts from government agencies or quasi-government agencies any given week. And so we've been monitoring this for years. But so far, no one's come and said, you're doing anything that we want shut down. I kind of think I'm like David Icke in the sense that, it's just too weird for them to pay attention to, right? And the more attention they give us, the worse it becomes for them.
Right.
And in fact, we may even be useful for them in a number of different ways. Now, in terms of actually, how do we prevent our stuff from polluting the data stream? We run this thing called MOM, which is Model of Model Space, in which we put all of our stuff, and then we filter it out. And it's actually become quite a problem. The last time we did a run here, I think my servers were at max capacity for probably 82% of the time, just throwing out references to our own CRUD. And so at some point we may get to it where we can never process out enough to have it be meaningful. And that may indeed even account for the data gap, for all I know. But that's basically how we prevent that. But we have in the past created some self-fulfilling prophecy issues because of my big mouth. So I'm trying to be more careful about that. Yeah. And there are specific things we didn't print in this report. You notice we didn't touch gold and silver because I didn't want to have a written reference to all the stuff that's going to go on here, although it's now okay to talk about it. I really couldn't bring it out in March because we knew that there was all this criminal cabal stuff that had to come out appropriately. And then we also did not put in a whole lot of stuff about the powers that be this time, again, because I don't want to give them a heads up that we know.
Marjorie wants to know if you have any comments on, quote, the word, unquote.
The word is a... in reading all these Sumerian text, a chain of... Jay Widener turned me on to this guy, L. Austin Waddell, who wrote in the 1920s. He got turned on to him by David Icke. This guy was a consummate historian and a linguist par excellence. And in some of the stuff he did, he has marvelous dictionaries, and I went back and reread stuff like Gilgamesh and reinterpreted it according to the guy's new dictionaries. Within some of the ancient Sumerian and other writings, there are hints of situations in the battles, especially in the pre-Vedic Sanskrit version of the Sumerian myths, of situations where in war, Group A would have their people chant or create a certain sound that would go across the battlefield to Group B, and in Group B there would be a major freakout as everybody in Group B turned around to look at their leader, George Bush Sr. or whoever, and he suddenly turns into this reptilian creature. Because again, what actually occurred was that this noise disrupted the frequency vibration that was being broadcast out into all these people's mind to make them think that George Bush Sr. was in fact a human when he's this reptilian creature. And so they wouldn't fight for the reptilian creature, and so it was a good strategy in battle. There was references to this repeatedly, but there's no actual references to the sound that was being made. And it's talked about as a word being sung, being created by a bronze device, and so on. So it's a specific frequency that causes this to occur. We're hunting for that frequency now. There's rumors of a book about some emerald tablet, and by the way, you cannot create a tablet in emerald at all. Emerald is just not a mineral that allows for incising or engraving. You just can't write in it. But anyway, there's some word that theoretically the reptiles themselves wouldn't or couldn't say, and that's not what we're seeking. This other thing is referenced in the pre-Vedic descriptions of the Vaimani Wars.
Sandy wants you to talk a little bit more about aliens at our front doors, alien wars, etc.
Well, we're in it right now. I mean, I go out and with the goggles, and there's some kind of an alien war going on over my head. And a lot of people with these goggles are seeing it all over the planet.
Who's worrying who?
We don't know. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't have a program. I can only guess. Anything I can say is speculation. But I've seen these Delta craft, triangular-shaped Delta craft, in groups of 3s and 5s and 9s that were doing what I thought was like end-of-shift ferrying work between two large rectilinear sort of spaceship things, be attacked by small spheres, and they would respond with lasers and stuff. Oh gosh, I'm afraid I'm going to have to go. I've got some caregiving responsibilities here, and it's just that time.
Well, we were getting close to wrap anyway. Cliff, thank you so much for your work and all of your time. Now, when is your next report?
Circumstances permitting, we're hoping to do one in June, with maybe a release in early July.
But
I want to try and catch that July 8th to 11th shift of the language.
So just to wrap before we go, the key dates for folks to keep in mind, in your opinion, what you're seeing are...
Crocodile